Go. Good morning, and welcome to Rock Studios Live here at Automation Fair in Anaheim, California. And I'm here today, I'm Carol Schaefer, by the way, and I'm here today with Sharon Billy Duran, who's our business manager here at Rockwell for visualization software, and Dan Henneberry, who's our business manager for visualization and computing hardware. So welcome to Rock Studio, Sharon and Dan.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for taking time to join us here to talk a little bit about how to choose the best HMI solution. So that's like a big question for all of our end users. So let's just kick it off. So Sharon, let me start with you. So no two businesses are alike, and therefore neither are there HMI solutions. So what are some of the core considerations really early on that our users need to think about to set that flexible, future-ready path for HMI?
I mean, that's a great question. Talking about choosing the HMI solutions, it's a lot different these days. HMIs used to be a single machine, single panel in front of a machine, and that's where it only showed information from that machine. Now we're talking about edge to cloud, and the HMI is playing a pivotal role in that whole solution with lots more information than we ever had before. The most important consideration, I think, to start with, because the HMI really is reflecting data from the system, is the control platform. And looking at whether you have multi-vendor or single vendor, multi-vendor offers you the flexibility of growing your system modularly as you need it. However, single vendor offers a single spot for support, for upgrades, for maintenance, but that's not always feasible. But your HMI solution has to really play with all of it.
From my perspective, I think one of the most important things to understand is really what are the goals and objectives of your HMI system. HMI covers a broad embodiment of hardware and software, so to really understand what you intend to accomplish with it is the most important element. So you might want a single product that is a station-based HMI or a client-server type architecture. You may want to use it to perform troubleshooting activities, or is it just basic machine operation? So all of those things are important considerations at the start of developing your HMI.
Well, it sounds like a lot to think about when you're getting ready. So once you've selected a platform, though, for your HMI, then the next step is really architecting the solution. So if you could, can you walk us through sort of the design process of the solution and maybe what considerations our customers should keep in mind? And Sharon, can we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and actually this is my favorite part, because this is really the people requirements. So how many people are going to be using this system? Looking at the operators, the maintenance people, where are they going to be located? Are they going to be located next to the machine? Are they going to be walking around? Or are they going to be across the world somewhere? So really understanding the needs of who needs to see this information and what they need to do with it, and how much information will there be. Is it a small machine? Can you get by with a small station? Or is it a very large machine that's maybe over a large geographical area where you have multiple systems working together? And then is the solution regulated? So if you set the solution, can you make changes to it easily, or is it is what it is? Those are all the considerations, at least to start with.
Great points. And I guess from my perspective, it's also important to understand what kind of data you intend to harvest from your system. What will that data be used for? Is it reporting, or is it just pure real-time control that you're doing with it? And also, what tools do you need to set up in your overall architecture of the system to ensure that you have a secure environment? Security is so important these days. A lot of bad actors out there. You want to make sure that you have the most secure platform possible. So taking into consideration the security as well as the needs of your consumers of the data, I think is paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. We are truly past the days of a single operator panel, on one machine. So there are a lot of considerations to make regarding physical requirements. But now what about the software side of things? When designing that connected system with a lot of devices and multiple operators, what do our users need to really think about to get a really efficient design process for that HMI?
So, great question. And I guess the first thing you have to understand is really you have to analyze your audience. Sharon pointed this out earlier. You need to understand who is going to be consuming the information, what are they going to do with it, and where are they going to be. So the who, what, where is important. And then secondly is that you want to make sure that you have a system that is resilient for security reasons, but also to the demands of the network traffic that it's going to be on. So all of those are important considerations.
Yeah, and I would add to that from the perspective of actually building the system. It's very rare that you have one person building the system, and so you want to provide an environment where you have multiple people that can access, the files, centralized project management with version control. For example, if Dan changes a screen throughout his workday, and then I open up the project, I want to see those changes, and I want those to be incorporated already, so that he doesn't have to send me files, and we can keep track of what the latest and greatest is. Additionally, with library management, it's really important to have a way to save pre-built content that you can reuse over and over again. Nobody really wants to build a new system from scratch every single time. And if you have library content that you can reuse, not only is it good for the operators and the maintenance people because they know what to expect, but as you keep building systems, they're more reliable because you've already tested those components and you're just using them.
Yeah, so I think that consistent look and feel for operators is a good consideration. I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about the user experience. So what do our users need to take into account to create a positive user experience for all those operators sitting there? Why is that so important?
I think that especially nowadays, there's lots of information, and the operators and the maintenance people have to make very quick decisions. So for example, if you have an operator that's looking at 100 alarms that are flashing consistently, they are just going to ignore it, and they will miss critical things that they need to do. So a much better user experience would be if a critical alarm happens, maybe the notification comes up so the operator is aware, like, wow, this is really something I need to pay attention to. Perhaps they can acknowledge that alarm directly from that notification. They can bring up the controller code that triggered it to start the troubleshooting process. And this may also be an interesting spot to bring in some AI, some maintenance co-pilot assistance to help that operator figure out, hey, what have people done before me, and what can I, do to try to solve the problem?
It's really limited to your imagination, isn't it?
It truly is.
And from my perspective, I think keeping the HMI system simple and concise is paramount, and having the developer reference human factors design guidelines is really critical. So, such as ISA 101, you ultimately want to make your screens just intuitive. The operator shouldn't have to go to a screen and then relearn the screen every time they go to it. It should be extremely intuitive. Putting the display banners in common locations from screen to screen is key, and keeping the colors to a minimum. I know it makes for a drab gray screen, but ideally you only want to use color when it's critical to the machine operation.
Absolutely.
So,
All right, great. Well, we do have so much data than ever before, just tons of data. So how does that play into the need for extensibility of the system and even that contextualization of the data and optimization of the data?
Right, so more data means just more numbers. And what do you do with all of those numbers? And so it's important that if you are connecting different machines together, or you're connecting, we talked about multi-vendor or single vendor, different controllers from different vendors. It's important when you get that information to understand where it comes from and where it fits in the system. So for example, 25 RPM means nothing unless you know the machine that it came from, the device that it came from, and then what you can do with it. So you want the ability to, in the HMI, to be able to collect all of that information and put it in a structure that makes sense. Because when the HMI is part of that edge to cloud solution, it needs to be part of that path as well. And then a lot of times the HMI, talking about extensibility, a lot of times the HMI Doesn't always do everything you need out of the box. So it's important to have some sort of scripting capability where you can extend the functionality and kind of do what you want.
Yeah, Sharon pointed out the ability to communicate with across the enterprise to many different assets out there. It could be equipment from many different vendors, and having an HMI system that communicates on an open protocol such as OPC UA, and then sending information to the cloud using MQTT is really, really key. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of great information here. So last, but certainly not least, what do we need to take into consideration when we're setting up a fast and secure HMI troubleshooting scenario? How do we deal with that when something happens?
I'd say more and more customers are taking advantage of some of the great features offered in a modern HMI system of remote access. Sharon pointed out earlier that it allows you to be in places you can't be, like halfway around the world or across the plant or across town. And so I guess the key to setting up a very robust and secure system is to understand the who, what, where, and who is going to be needing access, what type of information are they needing, and what do they intend to do with that information. And then finally, where. Where is the data located relative to where the consumer of the data is located?
I think that remote access point is very key. There's often, especially as the systems get larger and there's more components, very rarely is there someone on site who knows everything. So to have somebody who can remote in, help troubleshoot, whether it's a maintenance engineer that's sitting in a control room or the subject matter expert that is from another part of the company, but being able to access the machine remotely and do the troubleshooting and help the people that are on site, or maybe there's no people on site, is truly, truly important. And again, I'm gonna throw a plug for a co-pilot. This is a great area to start exploring with a maintenance co-pilot. We think that AI in operations, on the design side, it's easy. You can ask your co-pilot to help me build a system, but in operations, it's a little bit more critical to trust the data that you're getting and trust the information that you're getting from the co-pilot. So we think a maintenance co-pilot will be a must-have in the future. So it's a great thing to start exploring.
All right. Well, thank you, Sharon and Dan, for being with me today on Rock Studio, talking about HMIs. There's a lot to consider, a lot more than ever before. We're right here at Automation Fair. If you're here on the floor, come and see all we've got to offer for HMI solutions. And stay tuned for more on Rock Studios here at Automation Fair. Thank you.
Thank you.